Come on, Cowboys. What y'all got to say? Oh, we about to go to the...
Shut up! Before I bust a cap up in your ass.
I thought y'all was beating the world.
Shut up!
Maybe next...
Say another motherfucking word and this shit is over.
But we the most hated franchise and everybody...
Shut the fuck... Shut... Did I say... No! Oh, shit! Say it again. Say something else. Oh! Say something else. Say something else.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Cowboy Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
How about them? How about them?
How about him?
They never fail, man. They never fail. They never fail to deliver. Even when I was getting worried this year that I might actually have to live through another Cowboys Super Bowl victory,
Yep.
they didn't fail me. They didn't fail.
No, they right on time. Right on time. Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody. We are streaming live and direct on X, formerly known as Twitter. We're also on Instagram. We are on Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, and YouTube TV, all under Empower TV. Check us out on any of those platforms, but make sure you like, share, and most importantly, subscribe and keep helping grow the community. As man, I'm telling you, it keeps growing and growing and growing. These analytics are absolutely crazy. Take this out of
Yeah, I mean,
oh my gosh. It has been a crazy week. Every time we come on the show, it just seems like it's just something else that just happened in the week that just kind of rocks you. Anthony says at least it wasn't all on Dak this time. It doesn't matter. See, that's the beauty of the Cowboys failing, Anthony, is it doesn't really matter where it comes from. You just know it's going to come. Nobody would have expected after the way the defense has played that the defense wouldn't have shown up. And I'm gonna get into the Cowboys. I definitely am. There's some butthurt friends out there that are just now crying about all of the hate and stuff like that. I've got one friend of mine. I'm gonna have to go check on him in the because he's just all butthurt. And I'm gonna really go into a rant why I really give it to them, because some of the comments that I got from this Cowboys game is just absolutely ridiculous from these Cowboy fans. I mean, some of them miss they calling. They need to be politicians, because the spin that they try to put on stuff, my God, is just unreal.
I can't even wait to hear about it.
No, well, hell, had y'all won that game, we'd still be hearing about it today. Now all of a sudden, don't nobody want to talk about it. It happened. Let's move on. Why y'all don't never move on? Y'all celebrate every time y'all win like you done won the damn Super Bowl, even though you ain't seen it in 29 years. But yeah, I'm gonna go all into that one. But yeah, so we had a crazy wild card weekend. It was definitely wild card. It started out, we had the Browns and the Texans. And the Texans, my God, ran. I mean, they didn't even want it to look like, hey, we just happy to be here. We know we've had a couple of rough seasons in the past, but we did everything that we didn't leave it in anybody else's hands for us to get to the playoffs. We did what we were supposed to do. We came to play. A lot of teams sat there and thought that, I mean, who would have thought the Houston Texans would have finished with the division? Then they have host a home playoff game. The Cleveland Browns, again, 3 teams out of the AFC North, but the Cleveland Browns come to town. And first and foremost, even though they lost, I'm going to give it up to Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco comes in 675 years old. Bryce Young, you listening?
Oh yeah, I got something to say about this too. Go ahead.
he comes in and leads this team. Now, if and you made a great point about this team, Rand, is that if somebody had said that Cleveland Browns made it to the playoffs, of course you would have thought, well, Deshaun Watson done bounced back. He done had a great year. And the other dynamic with this team, and we have another team that had close connection in the playoffs, but this particular team's close connection was that Deshaun Watson leaves Houston and goes to Cleveland. But he's not the reason that Cleveland is in the playoffs, but that Cleveland gave up everything to get him. So then they play the Texans in Houston, and the Texans showed that they got the better of the deal.
No doubt.
They got CJ Stroud, they got D'Amico Ryans, they got who got drafted right after CJ. What's the defensive guy? I can't think of him. It'll come to me. They got him, so they're rebuilding that team, but they beat the brakes off the Browns 45-14. Flacco still threw for 307 yards, had a touchdown, but it was two costly picks that really changed that game. And again, your rookie quarterback, first playoff game, 16 of 21, 274, 3 touchdowns for a rookie.
Listen, and I need every Carolina fan out there to listen to me right now when I say this. For the rest of the year, until I see different, I don't want to hear nobody talk about, well, Bryce could have done the same thing if he was in Houston and Stroud would have struggled in Carolina. Don't tell me that garbage no more. I'm not even, you even bring that up to me, I'm just going to dive on you.
Yeah, because I don't believe that to be true at all.
Hell no.
At all.
Stroud is special. He's a special quarterback. And he's showing why he's special from week to week. Not only does he, win what was basically a playoff game to even get into the playoffs, but to do what he did against like the best defense or one of the best defenses in the league, and if not the best secondary in the league, down a receiver. I mean, Tank Dell didn't even play.
Right.
But this man is incredible, man. This man is doing the incredible. And you cannot sit here and tell me that Bryce Young would do the same thing in Houston. I don't believe it for a second.
I don't think so either. And I mean, that whole team, though, has responded so well to him. When you think about guys like Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown, you see these guys play with him and stuff. And like we said at the beginning of the season, none of those names would have scared you. You would have been like, okay, whatever. Nico, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, none of those names would have just sat there and jumped off the page and scared you into going, oh my God, we got to spend long nights planning defensive schemes against them. Okay, Anthony, I hear you. Anthony says, hear me now, the Ravens are in trouble. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that because you might be right, and only because of what I saw with Dallas. Heralded out of the regular season, thumping their chest, beating the world, and then flame out, and that's what I'm afraid about the Ravens, as in years past. But we'll get to that one. But yeah, Houston comes in, rookie quarterback, first year head coach. And these guys are firing on all cylinders, and them putting up 45 points. To me, that's a pretty big statement game. Hey, we ain't just happy to be here. We ain't happy that we just made it into the playoffs. We here to do something. So whoever is in front of you, and we'll talk about who they have to play next, but whoever is in front of this team has to sit there, and you got to take them seriously. You better play your best game when you're playing with them, because the Texans are not content with just showing up into the playoffs. They are trying to do something. Whether or not that happens or not, we will see. Yes, they got to play the Ravens. Yes, they got to go to Baltimore to do it. Yes, Baltimore has had rest. Sometimes that does not help a team. Sometimes it's the team that's playing hot and catches that fire. I've seen Pittsburgh do that plenty of times, coming in as the wild card and then just running all up in them playoffs like that. So sometimes having that bye does not do anything for you. So we will see if that benefits them. But I think the Texans got out of that game pretty unscathed for the most part. So we will see. We will see on Saturday at 4:30.
Yeah, man. It just really blows my mind that we as in Panthers. I know I got my Steeler jersey on, but when I say we this time, I'm talking about here in Charlotte. Blows my mind that we had the opportunity to have Stroud here in Charlotte, and how crazy our season would have been with him, man. Mm-hmm. But we did not go off of the eyeball test. We went off of a paper test to determine which quarterback we're going to get. Bryce, extremely bright. Nobody's saying that he's not. But when it comes to the physical attributes of playing quarterback, he is not a Stroud, man.
It reminds me of the Spurs. I know I'm mixing teams, mixing sports. Was there any doubt that they were going to take that big dude, Wembanyama, whatever his name is?
Wembanyama, no, absolutely not.
How many opportunities do you get to draft a kid that size that has all those skills, whether they're all refined and polished or not? Nobody was going to pass. If you had no one pick, it was always almost determined. Like, as soon as the draft started, you didn't need all the time to run off that clock for them to go, okay, this is who we picking. You already knew. My point is that sometimes you have to look at the actual person and look at their attributes. Bryce has the head, and everybody talking about how he can go through the progressions and stuff like that. But for me, physically, even if you take away his height, very thin frame, not built, not ready for the NFL at all. Knowing that if you were going to take a player like that, the pieces that you would have to surround around him to keep him protected, if you had the intention or even the idea that he may start, certain things would have to be in place. CJ, just from even his body, looked like he was more capable of starting on day one. Whether it's height or physicality, anything like that, the concerns about him getting hurt would have been less than when you look at Bryce Young and look at his frame, look at his size and everything else. It's fine what he has above his neck, but what's below his neck in that position is just as important. He's got to be able to get out of harm's way. And you knew good and well hell that you ain't have enough on your offensive line to protect whoever was going to be back there. So whoever it was going to have to be able to take some licks because they were coming. If they convince themselves that, hey, we're going to have a clean pocket, the line is going to hold, he's going to have 4 seconds to get rid of the ball and all that kind of stuff, that'd be one thing. But there's nothing that makes me believe that the Panthers believed that before the season started, regardless of who the quarterback was going to be. That's why I thought when they brought in Andy Dalton, that was their acknowledgement of the fact that we needed somebody that had enough veteran presence to know, hey, I'm going to probably take a couple of hits. I may need to climb the pocket. I may need to roll out, get out of harm's way, throw the ball away when there's nothing downfield, all those kind of things because he's been around. To me, that was the whole reason to bring him in the first place. Then when you sit there and you elevate Bryce because you swear up and down somehow he beat out Andy Dalton, right? Then you're telling me that you really believe that you have enough pieces around him to keep him insulated and safe, and there was just no way that was possible. So all these comparisons about, well, if you put CJ Stroud back there, he would have struggled just like Bryce. Do I think that they would have went to the playoffs? Maybe. Do I think they would have had the same kind of record? No, but you didn't need that same kind of record.
Exactly.
That was the same thing that I said all along. all the Panthers needed to do was win 9 games.
Just like Tampa won 9 games.
Like Tampa did, went 9-8. You didn't have to do more than that to win that division.
Yeah. To me, man, and I don't want to sound mean here, and I know there's no way that I could say this without sounding a little mean. But when you look at CJ Stroud in the weight room, or CJ Stroud with a shirt off, and you compare that to Bryce Young, I mean, Bryce literally looks like a boy, man. And I hate to say it, but he looks like a 14-year-old kid. And when you hear him speak, it's very soft-spoken. He's not a dog. I haven't seen him be a leader. I mean, can you see him up in the face of Ike Ekwonu, chewing him out for missing a block? Are you serious? Are you serious right now?
Like I need a bullhorn. Down here, Iggy.
Yeah. But on the, that stuff matters, man. It really does. When you're trying to command a locker room of grown men, stuff like that matters. And I've seen CJ getting people's ass on the offensive line and on his team. They listen to him. They have his respect. And I'm not saying that the team in Carolina doesn't have Bryce's respect. I believe they do, but it's just different. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same, man.
Yeah, when you're in that huddle with that quarterback and he's calling out those plays, there's a certain kind of player that has that cachet where everybody believes this guy is going to be able to pull this off. If I do my part, the guy next to me does my part, my quarterback is going to deliver. There's certain guys that can control, that can have that command of the huddle that way. Bryce Young, again, he may be able to process a bunch of game tape. Hell, Tony Romo can process a bunch of game tape. Didn't mean he was the best athletic quarterback. I've heard the Dan Orlovsky say some really insightful things on a lot of the ESPN shows. He wasn't never that kind of quarterback, though. He can communicate those kind of things from a studio as an analyst, which is fine. But he was never really that kind of dude in the huddle. So I mean, I've seen Sanchez say a lot of things as an analyst that I ain't never seen him do when he was a player. So I get it. You can have the IQ all you want, but you also have to have those God-given talents to be able to go out there and produce the same way that you analyze it. Bryce may know all those X's and O's, but is he going to be able to translate that into execution? Just having a good understanding, going through your progressions and reads and all those kind of things, that's a great thing. But athletically, physically, can you hold up in a game the same way that you're sitting there telling me? And I don't know. I just didn't see any of that. And hopefully, hopefully the year 1 to year 2 leap for him will be bounds. But he's going to be one of those guys that he's going to need a lot of things to be set up for him to be successful. And I think CJ can do a lot more with a lot less.
Absolutely.
And still make it work. And I just don't see that with Bryce Young. I think Bryce has to have everything laid out perfectly for him to even have a snowball's chance in even scratching the surface of what CJ Stroud was able to do, which is why I think CJ Stroud is going to run away with the offensive rookie of the year, even though Puka, what's his name? Puka Nacua?
Yeah.
Should definitely get some votes as well for what he was able to do. But I think just because of where that franchise was ran, I just really think that there's no way in the world they're not going to give it to CJ Stroud.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, man. And the thing about Bryce is, like you were, kind of saying, it's like he has to have all things perfect around him in order to succeed. We see how that's playing out in Tampa Bay right now for one Baker Mayfield, which I can't even believe what I'm watching sometimes. But I got to give the guy his props. 337 yards passing, 3 TDs, no picks in that playoff game was sensational. But, a little bit of that was also Philadelphia kind of quitting, and we're going to get to that too. Yeah. But I'm still gonna give Baker his props. But he is a quarterback that's a little bigger and a little heavier than Bryce, so they're kind of comparable in that regard. Um, but like I was kind of saying, and like you were kind of hitting on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
all things have to be perfect. I mean, Baker's playing behind a very good offensive line. We don't even have to talk about the weapons. His wide receivers are immaculate.
Yeah.
He's got a good tight end, and he's also got a running game. So those things are helping out a whole lot in Tampa, along with playing in a weak division. I know we're also in the same weak division, but if we're going to have to be comparable to Tampa Bay, then we're going to have to get a lot of comparable pieces that Tampa has and see what Bryce can do behind those pieces. I think that he'll be better. I think he'll be an above average quarterback with all those things. But kind of like you were saying, he's always going to be a bust in my eyes, because if you're taking number one overall, I'm expecting you to be able to carry a team and carry some of that load
Exactly.
rather than having to throw so much around you in order to make you not even shine, but glisten. So I'm still going to agree with the bust young thing that I've always
Yeah.
said.
You know, the thing that people have to realize is that it's like if I sat there and told you that I just paid $250,000 for a car, and I just say, hey, I just bought a car for $250,000. Damn, your mind already goes to, damn, boy, what did he get? A Bentley, a Lambo? What he man? He must have he done got a Ferrari. You know, he got some boy. That thing's it probably can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. If you know what I'm saying, well, he
Yep.
is probably a chick magnet and everything else. And then you walk outside and it's a damn Nissan Altima. Wait, what? I'm sorry. You spent what? Yeah. It's vintage. Yeah. They don't even make these anymore. Okay. Why'd you spend that much for it? Man, I always wanted one when I grew up, and they ain't make that body style no more. So that's what I paid for it. Yeah, man. But you told me you spent 250. Man, I already had in my mind it had to be this. My point to that analogy is when you draft somebody number one, there's already an idea of there's only so many guys that get drafted every year that would be worthy of being a number one pick because of certain attributes that this guy would have, that you're basically saying that these other guys, as good as they are in their own lane, would not qualify to put a number one pick on. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be good in the league. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be impactful on your team. My brother says that's an insult to Nissan Altimas. Well, maybe I should have said Toyota Corolla since it's a very small vehicle. But anyway, um, but the point is that you all a number one pick is reserved for certain special players. You're saying this guy is so special because if I put him on my team, he is almost what you would call transformational. He could take my team, my sorry team, and elevate it. Maybe not take him to the Super Bowl, but be so much significantly better on that team. He can multiply other people on my team. I wouldn't be ashamed to be seen in that Ultima that you paid 254. You should be ashamed. You should be damn sure ashamed, right? But but to sit there knowing that, because think about it, Jermaine. Yeah, you could have got that Ultima, but what else could you have gotten? Okay, fellas, I'm here. Oh Lord, CJ, the Dallas Cowboy fan, showed up. All right, well, that's good. We're gonna get into your Cowboys. Um, but the fact is that Bryce Young is always going to be a bust because he was never that dude. If you're saying the point is to put pieces around him so that he can be a capable, okay quarterback, well, you could have found that dude in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. You didn't have to put the number one pick on him and make a guaranteed, a full guaranteed contract to this dude. What's up, Chris? Tear their ass when you do. Chris, I'm going into the Cowboys. I got it. Now, Chris, I think you're a Steelers fan though, if I remember right. So yeah, we're gonna talk about them Steelers too. But now I'm talking about the Cowboys. But what the Panthers did actually was set the franchise back by putting that first round pick on a dude that was not capable, qualified, and ready to be a first round pick.
Agreed, man.
Yeah, it just absolutely. Let's get it. Jermaine says that Ultima can carry part of the team and go further than 15 yards. Bryce didn't have too many passes longer than 15 yards. I mean, he did it a few times, but again, we saw a lot of backup quarterbacks. That's why I brought up Joe Flacco being 30-something years old and putting up 300 and something yards in the game. We saw Mason Rudolph come in for the Pittsburgh Steelers and do that. We saw Jake Browning come in. We saw Josh Dobbs come in. These are not guys. We saw Tyrod Taylor come in. We've seen what Geno Smith did in Seattle. These are guys that were not first-round picks that are producing, that don't have everything around them ideally, but are still able to produce. So,
yeah. A lot of things. One thing that a lot of people don't look at when they draft the quarterbacks, they look at the highlight reel and they see the quarterback making all these spectacular plays. Bryce Young, for instance, when he was, his senior year at Alabama. But if you go back and look at some of those highlights, he's got all freaking day to throw, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he takes the pass. I mean, he takes a hike and shotgun formation, and he's sitting back there, and he's got time to go through this progression, that progression. But one of the things you got to take into consideration too, everybody says they want this tough SEC type quarterback, but when you look at Alabama, everybody knows they don't really schedule a whole lot of tough teams. I mean, yeah, they play some tough teams in the SEC, but like they also play a lot of Mercers, a lot of Austin Peas, a lot of Southern Miss, a lot of you can just go through it and you can name it, man. North Dakota States and
absolutely,
yeah, they play a lot of daggone pushovers. So when Bryce is out there having these great games and whatnot, you got to kind of take that into consideration, especially if you're going to take him number one overall. When I'm taking a quarterback number one, I want to see him kind of tested. I want to see what he looks like under some pressure, and see how impressive he is then. So I just wanted to put that out there too. Maybe the Panthers were just lured by all of the yards and the dazzling plays that he made at Alabama and did not take into consideration that this guy is back there having all day to make a decision.
Yeah, Chris says, I would have placed a warrant on the O-line. Yes, I've always said Alabama has a popcorn schedule every year.
A lot of people say that, man. They do.
They do.
That's how they run up their daggone record.
And a lot of times, these teams' reputation precedes them. They walk in already with the cachet that, we're Alabama. We've won this many SEC championships, and we've been to this many national championship games and things like that. And everybody on our team is a blue chip player. And some of those things may be true. But when you get to the NFL, all of these players that you're playing against were on the top of their respective football teams.
Exactly.
What made you special in college is not going to necessarily make you special in the NFL. All of that gets mixed up once you get to the league. So
when you're at Alabama and you're Bryce Young and you're playing a lot of cupcakes, then all of a sudden you got to play in Auburn. You got to toughen yourself up for that, and you got to have your A game for that Auburn game. Then you play 2 more cupcakes, and then you may have to play at Texas. That's college football. But when you get to the NFL, they're all Auburns, man.
Right.
Every single week, they're all Auburns.
Right. Yeah. Look past the team that's in front of you if you want to,
yeah.
And ask Dallas how that happened. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get to that. You know what? Why even delay it anymore, Rand?
Bring it on. Bring it on. Should we go get our cowboy hats and put them back on?
We will. And I'm going to sit there and play this promotional video while I go get my hat.
Is this your year?
You guys can point the finger at him.
Is this your year?
You can talk about the
Is it fair?
vacation. And if you do that, it's really unfair.
Do what you always do.
It's really unfair.
What about Dak?
It's my quarterback.
What about Dak?
It's my team.
How about him?
And if you guys do that, man, it's unfair.
Another year, same results.
Lost as a team. We lost as a team, man.
DC failed. For L, fail.
Ooh, how about them, baby?
Oh, Lord. Oh, God. How about them? How about them Cowboys? Oh, my gosh. Oh, Lord. So, Chris says, let me see. Oh, okay, let me go back up here. Scouts was like Alabama, okay, check quarterback, check. We found our winner, yep. And okay, CJ said, let's go. Jerry said, I'm sorry, Chris says Jerry will not live to see another Super Bowl. He making too much money not going. You know, that is funny. That's true. I mean, the franchise costs so much money. Oh God, CJ, please. Anthony says, did you know Panthers interviewed Dan Quinn today for their head coach job? No, but I was pretty sure that was coming. And then CJ says, it's always our year. It's called being a fan. No, I don't blame that completely. We were outplayed, period. Of course, it's embarrassing, but we will get over it. And I am still DC for you. Okay. So I'm going to unpack some of that. It's not always your year. That's a delusional thing to believe. And that's why people don't like the Cowboys. Some years, it's not that you go into any season not wanting your team to be successful, but it's how you measure success is the problem. Success isn't always hoisting the Lombardi trophy. Sometimes success is saying, just like Houston, we took a team that won one game, and now this year we're going to try to win 6 games, or we're going to try to what's a good goal for us. That was a figure of speech. Yeah, but y'all really mean that shit. when y'all say that at the beginning of the year, when y'all say, you know, we're going to Super Bowl, y'all believe that.
Go out and get the tattoos to prove it.
Yeah, y'all believe that. That ain't really a figure of speech. Some of y'all might be saying that as a figure of speech. Most of y'all saying that because y'all really believe that. Y'all think every single year, and you said this to yourselves for the last 29 years, that this is our year. And what that means to you is that it's Super Bowl or bust every single year, even if what's on paper doesn't even line up to that, much less what's being put out there. But I will say this. I was starting to wonder if the Cowboys had figured it out. Now, they always start off hot because they line up the NFC East at the beginning of the year, and they automatically beat the Giants. They automatically beat the Commanders, and they start padding their record, and they start celebrating in September and October. And it's just like, okay, y'all, you ain't beat nobody yet. Now, you do have to go play those games, and yes, you should beat those teams and beat them handedly. But don't come back telling me that you put 40 points on the Giants. you put 40-something points on the Lord, I'm about to say Redskins, something on the Commanders, and that is supposed to say we have arrived. You do that every single year. You've won 12 games for the last 3 years, every single year. That's great. It's good to do that. That is a measure of success. Take that success, but then say, you know what? Last year we got booted out of the wild card round. Maybe we hit a goal. We won the division. Good. Now we got a home playoff game. Now we need to win a wild card round. Now we need to sit there and get to the divisional. Now we need to get to the championship game. Get to the championship game. Now you got a chance to go to the Super Bowl. These things are in steps. The reason that people a lot of times hound on Cowboys fans is that y'all think a lot of times you could go from 1-16 to going to the Super Bowl next year. And for most teams, that's just not realistic. Can it happen? I suppose. Is it realistic? No. You need to sit there and go in spurts. Now, people will say to me all day, but Brian, you're a Carolina Panthers fan. Yeah, but I ain't out here acting like the Carolina Panthers are anything more than the trash that I put in my garbage can.
Expectations.
I already understand that. And it doesn't make me less of a fan to acknowledge the fact that my team has issues that until they resolve, success will have to be measured in other ways. I can't measure their success by wins and losses, because if I go that route, I'm just going to accept the fact that they're not that good. Let me see. CJ says, collectively, I understand what you're saying. I am a rare realistic fan of football, period. No, sir. No, you're not. Chris says, because when he says that, he's like, well, I'm a rational Cowboys fan. And there's just no such thing. There is no such thing as a rational Cowboys fan. Because every year they oversell. Okay, I'll get into that in a second. Why I'm digging on Cowboys so bad. I'm gonna tell you why. And CJ, part of one of the posts that you sent me is inspiring me to go there too. Chris says 29 years. Nah, bro. Yeah, how you gonna be America's team and you ain't won nothing in 29 years? But that's a whole nother story too. Anthony says, as a Washington fan, winning the division is all I ask for. Because number one, Anthony, you're right. Winning the division actually put you into the playoffs. We've seen teams, especially in the NFC South, and we've seen teams in the NFC East do this before, where they didn't even have a winning record, but by default of the fact that they won their division, they had a ticket punch for the playoffs. So yes, you want to win your division first. Why? Well, those are the teams that you play more than anybody else through the course of a year. So yes, you want to win your division, whether it's bragging rights or whether it's the fact that it gets you into the playoffs. You don't have to worry about a wild card spot. You win your division, you automatically into the playoffs, Rand. But even past that, you say, okay, first step, get into the playoffs. Second step, how can we sit there and get past the first round and work yourself that way? It's called being realistic. If Washington playoffs ran, I bet they would have just been happy with just winning the division, whether they got bounced in wild card weekend or not. And nobody would have been calling for firing this person, benching that person, or anything else.
Yeah, CJ, let me ask you a question. You could take some time to think about it and type a reply. But what do you think is missing? And I'm asking as a fan on the outside, because I'm absolutely not a Cowboys fan, but I would like to know from a Cowboy fan, what do you think is missing? Why is it that you guys keep on coming up short? Do you think it's a Dak thing? Do you think it's a coaching thing? I think it's A, B, whether you want to line it up as McCarthy, Dak, or Dak McCarthy. To me, in my eyes, it's one or the other. Or something else. I mean, you tell me though. What kind of change would you like to see going into next year? Do you want Dak back, or would you want the what's the backup quarterback be? In Dallas? Yeah. No, not Cooper Rush. The guy they traded, Trey Lance. Or is it Trey Lance time? Let me know, bro.
While he's typing that up, I don't want to steal his thunder. It's, to me, the Cowboys have a curse. You know, it's one thing to comprise regular season wins, but the playoffs is a whole different season. The lights are brighter, you know, your palms are sweatier, the ball, the grip's different. Everything is different. It's amplified. It's one and done. It's win or go home. It's that kind of thing. There's a lot more pressure. You know, I grew up where they always said pressure bust pipes. Certain players can play under a certain kind of spotlight where others can't. They cave under pressure. Sometimes you have these guys that can do all these great things during the regular season when there's not a lot of pressure. But now this is for everything. You know, there's a lot of guys that before they play they play games every week, they go throw up to get those nervous jitters out, and then they play through it. But there's certain other guys that they could throw up, and they just can't shake it. You know, they get in their own heads and everything like that. I think the Cowboys have a lot of different issues. Number one, I think the Cowboys' biggest problem is their owner, because the owner wants to be the face of the franchise. He can't be, but he's not going to change. He will have to die. And I ain't trying to be morbid. I ain't trying to say nothing else. That franchise will never be what it can be until the owner passes away. I know that sounds crazy. I know I probably shouldn't say that. At me all you want. But I've got 29 years to prove what I'm saying. So they have not been successful. And why do you say that? Coaches come, coaches go. Quarterbacks come, quarterbacks go. Defensive players come, defensive players go. Running backs come, running backs go. Only thing that's been the same is the owner. Now, can he throw the ball? Can he catch the ball? Can he play defense? No. But your owner is also your general manager. Your general manager shops for the groceries and puts the groceries together. You need a line between your owner and your general manager. Until Jerry Jones figures out that he cannot be in both roles, either run the team or own the team, you cannot do both. You cannot do both, because when you were glaringly in need of a linebacker, you sat on your damn hands. When you were in need of a backup running back or a two-back system, you sat on your hands. When Amari Cooper was still producing, even though he did disappear in some big games sometimes, you said, you know what? I don't want to pay him the $20 million. Cleveland thanks you. Because your general manager and your general manager feels like he can draft everybody that he needs. And when he has to go into free agency, which he rarely does, you know, when free agency opens, Dallas rarely does anything. He'd rather draft everybody and feels like, I brought these guys in, I made them who they were. That's why he always loves Dak. He was a 4th round pick that he's paying 1st round money to. That's why he loves Zeke so much. That's why he loves a lot of these players that he drafts. That's why he loves Micah. These are his guys. When he gets them in through free agency, he doesn't have that kind of affinity for them. You can't think like that when you're a general manager. You got to look at the pieces. You got to get together with your head coach and look at the way your coach coaches. Is he a defensive oriented coach? Is he a run first coach? Do I need to get bigger bodies on the offensive line? That's the other thing. Even with the Dan Quinn defense, you got a lot of undersized players out there that got rolled by Green Bay. Aaron Jones got stronger as the game went on because your defensive players are too small. They couldn't stop a cold. Hold on, I'm getting so many comments because I've been going off. Hold on. Let me see. Oh my God. Thanks. Keep them coming, y'all. Let me roll back up here and see what I got. Okay, so Chris says, don't play Green Bay. True. Anthony says it's not a Dak because it was the same drama with Tony Romo. So it's coaching or owner problem. Thank you, Anthony. Chris says hell, not a fan, but they've had 29 years to get it right. Taking back to Arkansas when he does. Anthony says, I need to know who makes the pick in the draft room. Jerry. There you go. That was easy. He makes too much money doing what he's doing. CJ says it's really a curse. Chris Burrs is correct, though. 29 years is way too long to carry out a championship legacy. Jerry Jones has to let go. And yes, new coach, and yes, new quarterback. This one truly hurts. I can't really shake this loss off. And then Chris says that's why I don't like Dallas. And Chris, to your point, and I've said this on plenty of shows, I used to like Dallas. You know, back in the days, I used to like the Troy Aikman, the Emmitt Smith, Michael Irwin, Moose Johnson, all those guys. I used to really like them, but it was the fans that just killed it for me. I couldn't like them anymore. I rooted against them because of the fans. The team itself, it was kind of like me being a Carolina Tar Heels fan. I could always respect the Duke players, but Mike Krzyzewski just always effed it up for me. I couldn't stand his little rat face ass. So then I couldn't root for him, even though I was a Tar Heel. Tom Landry was a great coach. Absolutely. It just seems like Jerry is a diva that always wants to be in the spotlight, in the limelight. Your owner can't be like that. I bet you if I asked you who was the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, you couldn't tell. I bet you if I asked you who was the owner hell of the Houston Texans. Well, no, everybody know the McNairs. Just random franchises. You wouldn't know it unless it was just like a storied family like the Fords and the Lions, or something like that, or the McNairs in Houston or something like that. Breaking news: Dallas keeping their head coach. Of course they are.
Good.
And you know what? Jerry's going to keep a head coach that he has his thumb on. He doesn't want a head coach that is going to challenge him. That's why it took Jimmy Johnson how long to get into the Ring of Honor?
He also doesn't want to admit that he made a mistake. That's why he held on to Opie for so long, because he didn't want to Opie hand clap. He didn't want to admit he made a mistake there.
Sure.
So
way too long. Jerry is loyal sometimes to a fault, but it is also ego, because if he got rid of Mike McCarthy, it also him admitting to the fact that he made a mistake. All this talk about getting Coach Belichick, you ain't gonna get Coach Belichick, because that would just be Jimmy Johnson 2.0. Bill ain't got time for all that drama. Jerry, you hand me the keys and you get the hell out the way. And and that's why I believe Robert Kraft moved on from him, because for the last 24 years, Bill Belichick has had his team, and he probably just wanted his team back. Jerry will never let you take his team away from him. And as long as he does that, he doesn't have anybody really challenging him. Stephen Jones is not going to challenge Jerry. Jerry is going to believe what Jerry wants to believe. Jerry is always going to think that he's the smartest person in the room, and his football IQ is unquestioned.
Every single Dallas Cowboy football game, the camera zooms up there to the suite
all the time.
There he is.
As much as they talk about Taylor Swift getting all the camera time.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Every single Cowboy game, direct the camera to the suite. There he is doing something.
Have it ready on Jerry. We'll tell y'all when to go hide.
You can't say that about like Dan Rooney or some of the other owners out there. You just don't hear them. You don't see them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You rarely, even when you see Atlanta playing, how many times y'all see them zoom in on Arthur Blank?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. You don't see this. How many times you see the Rooneys get hit in a Pittsburgh game?
Never.
I can't tell you when. It just doesn't. The Mara family for the Giants. You just don't see it. But they ready for Jerry. And when Jerry up there happy and everything, and him and Steven up there high-fiving and hugging and stuff during a regular season meaningless game.
Yep. That's the problem. And
then after a game, Who do they go to first? Normally, it's the players at the locker room, and they trying to assess what happened and everything. Who do they go find? They go find Jerry. Well, I just don't know what to really say about this team here. It just kind of disappointing. I thought that this might have been the year. I know Mike did everything that he could. I really appreciate what Mike did. What Jerry, get the hell out of here. And then he go on. Then he has his Monday shows that he goes on and stuff like that. Bro, you the owner. You the owner, but he loves the attention. He's an attention whore. That's your problem. Now, look? I'm old enough to remember that things roll downhill. So even though you may have other problems with your team, the owner sets the culture. You have a culture problem because your owner is defining the culture, and he's the biggest reason that culture is like that. I mean, my God. That's really what it comes down to. Dallas, and CJ says that's why we can't break the curse. Jerry won't give up control. I agree with you. Anthony says Cowboys in trouble. Anyways, they got 3 players that's going to get paid, but the problem is you can't afford to keep everybody. Yep, that's another good point. But they run into this because they waste time. They waste a player's shelf life because they can't get past all these other issues. Parsons is coming up, CD is coming up, and Dak is coming up, as Anthony said. Now, they don't have to renegotiate Dak's contract this year, but the idea was to go ahead and get it out of the way to free up some money. Because, yes, you're going to have to pay Micah, and CD's coming up too. And then Chris says, who has the money to go after Dallas? What do you mean by that, Chris? What do you mean by who has the money? CJ says nobody. Chris says Texas, Hollywood. Yep. And then I'm done, guys. I have to go. Peace out, CJ. Yeah. Let me know what you mean by that. See you tomorrow, bro. Okay. Yeah. See you tomorrow on the main show. So they just have all these problems as far as the culture, the general manager, everything like that. It starts with Jerry and him being able to give the control. We don't know what kind of structure he has with Mike McCarthy versus Dan Quinn, how they operate. Do we have a Carolina Panthers issue where is Dan Quinn going to the owner? Do players go to the owner? He has a very open door, kind of like Dave Tepper does. So we don't know that dynamic either, Rand. Chris says, who's going to buy Dallas? Well, I don't think anybody's going to buy Dallas. I think it's going to be a continuum of once Jerry, goes on to the, other side and everything, Stephen Jones, and then we're going to resume and it's just going to keep going. I honestly believe that. I don't think it's leaving the Jones family anytime soon.
No, it'll be in the Jones family for quite some time to come.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can buy Dallas because honestly, the franchise is worth $6 billion. It took a whole bunch of folks to put $6 billion to buy the Commanders. So actually, they're probably worth more than that. If the Commanders just went for $6 billion, that probably raised the value in Dallas. He said that's what I meant. Nobody's going to buy them, and nobody's going to be able to touch them. So it's going to be more of the same. So I know that's kind of what your point is that it's always going to be in the Jones family. My hope is that at some point they realize that they need to layer their positions and let the owner be the owner and let a general manager work with their head coach on constructing a team the way they need to construct a team and be less meddlesome with the team. Teams where the owners don't meddle as much seem to be the ones that have the best success. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a straight out recipe. You see, I mean, if I was any organization, I would look at the Steelers, and I'm not just saying that because Rand's here. I would just say that because they've been the most consistent franchise.
It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
I mean, there's so many franchises that will say we want to model ourselves after the way the Rooneys manage the Steelers. When you think about a organization that since 1972 has had 3 head coaches,
and
other organizations change like underwear.
The owner just sits back and owns. The GM does his thing, and the coach does his thing.
And they're
And
diehard Steeler fans. Some of them delusional too, but they're diehard Steeler fans all over the place. There's terrible towels everywhere you go. I mean, but it's the organization that sets that team up for success. Mike Tomlin now, by my calculations, is the longest tenured coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's close. And he is the most successful coach in the NFL when you look at wins and losses. All of those are facts. They're indisputable. I'm tired of 500 seasons, though. Well, you can't get any more 500 seasons because there ain't 16 games anymore. But I know what you mean. Even 9-8 sometimes feels like 8-8. I get it.
Is Chris a Steelers fan? Chris?
Yes, big time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, bro. I know what you're saying. The whole thing of Tomlin never having a losing season is wearing a little thin when you look at the past 7 years and we've not won a playoff game. That is a little concerning. And the amount of points that we're giving up in these playoff games, you know, we're talking about the Steelers back in the 90s and not so much the 80s, but the 70s, when that defense got to January, wasn't giving up maybe 16, 17 points a game. Now these defenses in the playoffs are giving up 30 to 40 points a game, and that's just not Steeler football. So I hear you, and I completely understand what you're saying because I'm there too. Kind of, I'm not disappointed in this year because so many people had us picked to finish last in the North again, and we overachieved, especially with all the injuries and the quarterback concerns. Tomlin righted the ship and got us there again, but and I didn't expect to beat the Bills either. I didn't, but something's got to change in Pittsburgh if they want to keep up with this. The standard is the standard thing. We got to start winning. Haven't had a Super Bowl or been to a Super Bowl since 2011, and I know that's not terribly long, but I don't want to get to where I'm a Cowboy fan either, where we ain't been there in 20 years. So yeah, we got to change a few things or tweak a few things.
Well, and Rand, to your point, and I see where Chris says looking like Dallas without Jerry's face. Not quite yet, but I take your point. You have mentioned some stuff in the water cooler, which was really insightful. It seemed like you addressed in your post some things that Steelers could fix through free agency versus some things that they need to fix up through the draft.
Yep.
Mason Rudolph is set to be a free agent. Do you bring Mason back?
Depends on what the free agent market is looking like for him. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money on him. I mean, he did very well in the Buffalo game, but he kind of served or kind of showed why he is where he is in the league too, in the Buffalo game. It's not like he went out there and lit it up, and it's not like he carried us. So it just depends on what price it is for him. We're sitting at number 20 in the draft. If a Jaden Daniels from LSU falls to us at 20, ain't no way in hell we could pass that up. So you got to factor that in.
But do you keep him more as an insurance policy if he can give you a player-friendly contract? Because what happened this year is he was on the practice squad for a bit because you had Mitch Trubisky, and you had Kenny Pickett, and then Mason actually ends up kind of being that Cooper Rush kind of guy. You don't expect him to start, but if your player goes down, can he finish the game? Does he know enough of the playbook where he knows where guys are supposed to be and things like that? He seems like had he not been there, would that season have finished the way that it finished?
As long as the price tag is not ridiculous for Mason, and I don't think it will be. I don't think he showed so much that people are just going to come clamoring for him. But as long as that price tag is agreeable, yeah, you bring him back because he knows the system. And, you're not going to find another backup off the street that knows the Steelers system. So, yeah, you do bring him back.
Anthony says, Randall, come on. Jaden Daniels not falling at 20. LOL.
Well, they said the same thing about Kenny Pickett, man, that he was not going to fall to 20, but he did. You never know how these drafts shake out.
That's true.
So we'll see.
That's true. And then Chris says, no offense, it's time for a black quarterback.
You want to see some Cordell, bro? I wouldn't mind it myself, man. We're in the age of mobility, so let's see it happen. Like I
Yeah,
said, if Jaden falls to us, I'll be all for it.
well, your division is moving that way. I mean, with the way Lamar is playing and everything, and then Mr. Masagi for the Doo-Doos is playing. Well, he hadn't played anything yet, but and Chris says, yes, sir. I guess to the Cordell comment. Yeah, you get a little bit more slash. You get some guys that can be a threat with their legs. So what you really have to do in this age of football is be able to freeze defenses when they know they can just pin their ears back and come after that quarterback because he ain't going nowhere. I mean, it's Bryce Young 2.0 when they know that, hey, he gonna be there when I get there. I mean, that's it's like having a pinata back there. Oh, you're gonna lose quarterbacks, or what's gonna happen is that guy's gonna take so many hits that you will know who the number 2 quarterback on that team is because more than likely he's gonna have some significant playing time through the course of a year. I think a lot of these teams found out really, really easily that not having a capable number 2 can totally derail your season. It's not a position that you can just look over anymore and just say, we'll just get a guy. No, you need that guy to be able to come in and be serviceable. When Kirk Cousins went down for Minnesota and Arizona gave up Josh Dobbs to Minnesota, he came in and just played lights out. Then, of course, they went to another guy. But you got to be able to have guys. And these guys played better than the number 1 overall pick. All of them did at some point of the season. Outplayed the number 1 pick. You can't have guys that nobody even heard of playing to those kind of levels like that. I don't want to go back to Bryce, but it's just an observation of that whole quarterback position that you got to have capable, competent guys in that number 2 position. Chris says a quarterback's supposed to have fun, not stuck in the pocket, if you will. A quarterback is supposed to have fun, not stuck in the pocket, if you will. Yeah, well, fun. You meaning able to move around and just not be like weighted down in the pocket. That if that's what you mean, you're absolutely right. They need to be able to improvise. They need to be able to read the field. Hey, if it makes sense, everybody's turned their backs. Oh, slashing. Yep. If everybody's turned their backs and they see 5 yards of green in front of them, yeah, all their players are being covered up. Go get them 5 yards, bro. Don't just sit there and keep waiting until the defense is knocking your tackle into you. You know, those kind of things. Recognize how to climb a pocket. Recognize if you are a shorter player to get a free line of sight because you've got 6'5", 6'6" guys throwing their arms up in the air. And now you might have that guy running a 9 route or a fly route on the outside, but you can't get it to him because you can't see him. So, yes, there are a lot of things that a quarterback needs to be able to do. And a lot of times you start to see some of these guys that didn't get drafted or got drafted late in the draft able to do these things. And you just shake your head because you go, we just spent a first-round pick on a guy that either isn't willing or isn't able to do that. So that is a little disheartening. But Randy, I think your Steelers are pretty close. I think that one of the things that they did was that they got rid of some coordinators and things like that and cleaned that up. But they also are going to have to address some positions. You got guys getting older. I saw what you said about Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, he had his time. It's probably time to move on from that. They just going to have to address some positions that they've kind of been holding on to for a while.
Yeah, it starts in the trenches, and we've just like done patchwork with the center position for so long. They got to address it in the draft, man. Get a stud in that center position, get a stud offensive lineman to go with him. The other three guys are very good already. That's going to help the running game. That's going to help the passing game. They already got capable wide receivers. It's time to repair that line, and it's time to get some youth in the defensive line too.
Yeah, Chris says the O-line is next. Absolutely. And when you look at your offensive skill players, that would really help them and help whoever the quarterback is going to be. And when
Yep.
you and get back to Steelers ball, which is normally run first, run to
Yep.
set up the pass. Having a good running game, as Green Bay will be able to tell Dallas, having a good run game not only sets up the pass, but it sets up play action.
Yes.
Because now you have to make sure, does the running back really have that ball or not? So is Najee Harris still going to be the bona fide starter, or has Jalen done a lot to make that kind of contentious in the offseason?
You know, it's all about the dollar when it comes to that. So yeah, they're gonna keep on putting Harris out there as the number one back, and he's probably going to get the majority of the carries. But I would like to see it evened out a little more. I could tell you that, because Jalen Warren was a beast back there with the limited amount of touches that he got.
Yeah, the free agents that you have that are listed as notable is going to be your cornerback Levi Wallace, DT Montravius Adams, Mason Rudolph, and your edge rusher Marcus Golden. Any of them worth bringing back?
Going to bring back Adams, very good depth piece. Marcus Golden, also very good depth piece. You need to bring him back. Wallace, could see you later, alligator. Patrick Peterson has been nice. Appreciate it, bro. Anybody else that you naming off that list, they can hit the road too.
All right. And Chris says the same thing. Yes to Harris. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think that the whole pronouncement of practice squad material. I think I think Najee's demise was probably counted on a little too early and everything. I think he is a serviceable back, but it is gonna depend on the dollars and stuff like that. But having a two-back system, I would love to see them implement two backs from time to time. I don't really know how much blocking Jalen actually does, though, because if you run a two-back, you're going to use those backs a lot of times for chipping and things like that. But I do know that both of them are comfortable catching the ball out in space. Share the load, Chris says, yes.
I know you're not a Pittsburgh fan, but yeah, Jalen Warren is a very good blocker for his size.
Okay, well that's good. That gives, and that should give a team like that, when you do want to run play action, when you do want to sit there and share the snaps and things like that, but you still want to get them on the field sometimes together. Some teams do it from a tight end position where they run a 21 package where they want to sit there and have a bigger jumbo out there. But sometimes you get the same effect by having two backs out there, and then sometimes motion one. Sometimes keep them in the two-back set. There's a lot of different things that you can do that can fool a defense, that moves that defensive player from one side to the other, and then maybe you run a misdirection the other way. There's a lot of different things that you can do out of a two-back set.
Yep. Pittsburgh's not very far off. Their list of needs is not too bad. It's not a Carolina's list of needs, thank God.
No,
But,
thank God.
I think we'll be right back in the mix next year. Tomlin always has them in the mix no matter what. So,
yeah.
Something to look forward to, man. Something to look forward to.
The only thing about, going out too early with them picking 20th is it does kind of put you in a position of never really being able to go get that top quarterback unless you move up. And the only way you're going to move up is when you start to take your pick and add something else to it to convince a team to trade down to you. So sometimes that mediocrity or that doing enough, it kind of puts you in that limbo because it keeps you out of that top 10 to 12 where you're not being able to get that premium player, so to speak.
Yes, we've been in limbo 17 years. Yes,
exactly.
You're right.
Because even when you got Najee, you got him with was it 25?
Yeah,
Like
he was
20,
down there. Yeah, like
he was
20
down there.
something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, he literally fell into your lap because nobody wants to, and that's always going to be the way for a running back, unless you were Bijan, where they're going to pick in the top 10. Most of the time, you're not going to see a running back go that early, just because of the history of running backs and salaries now. But that was interesting. Kind of capping off where we were too with the Packers and the Cowboys. Uh, how do you think Green Bay is approaching this? You've got quarterback that sat behind Aaron Rodgers all these years in his first playoff game, something that Aaron Rodgers nor Brett Favre did in their first year as full-time quarterback for the Packers. You've got 1 and 2 year players in Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. You've got some of these other guys out there doing things that um, hell, they don't know they ain't supposed to be there. you know, they just kind of enjoying the ride. They're kind of playing with house money.
Yeah.
How do you see them taking the momentum of the win from the Cowboys and now rolling over to Levi Stadium and taking it to the Packers?
Man, I think you just said it perfectly. They don't know that they're not supposed to be there. They didn't know that it was supposed to clobber Dallas. It was just going to play ball, and it happened. So I think they're just gonna go out there and be themselves and see what shakes out in the win, man. I don't think they're scared.
Only
I know Love ain't intimidated. So we'll see what happens. They can either go out there and play a good game and put it to San Francisco, catch them sleeping, coming off a bye, or they might get dusted. We'll see.
Yeah, it could go either way. And Chris says, "Good night, guys. Gotta eat. Been real." Thanks, Chris,
Peace
for
out, bro.
popping in. Come back and see us. Yeah, I'm of two minds about it. If they play the way they played against the Cowboys, they could actually win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it earlier, and I agree with you 100%. These buys are not always a good thing for number one seeds, man, because it breaks their momentum, and then they got to find that momentum back again.
And you know what was so funny? They made a point of emphasis at for the Cowboys game that Green Bay won the toss and they elected to receive.
Yeah.
They wanted to put their offense out there against that heralded Dallas defense and said, "Let's see what you got."
Yeah.
off the bat, they wanted to say,
Right off that,
"Hey, we ain't
Yep.
worried about whether we get the ball first in the second half. We want it now."
Yeah.
We gonna sit there and we gonna sit there and set the tone in this game. I thought that was just big ball moves.
Straight down the field touchdown. Not a field goal, straight
No,
down the field touchdown.
Like,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
They're not
And
just saying
you can see.
we ain't saying we happy to be here.
Mhm.
If that defense plays San Francisco the way they played Dallas, I'm telling you, Brock Purdy can be had.
Hey, have you seen, and I know you've seen this as kind of rhetorical question, but the NBA playoffs,
Mhm.
when that first game, the team that's been out for a while, and then game one, they get caught by the team that they're not supposed to get caught by. And they're
Mhm.
like, oh, dang, they got us. We lost that game. But then they turn around and they'll win the next 4 games and win the series.
Yeah.
Football ain't like that though, man.
No.
That's the thing. You come in cold, you're going home. You're going
Yes,
home.
There's
Yep.
there's no redo. There's no best 3 out of 5.
No.
No, you got to win today.
Yep.
There is, and I'm sure they have in their locker rooms. There is no tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
It's all today.
That's what makes it such a great game.
Ahead in the schedule and stuff like that, because if you don't play well today, you won't be there no way.
Yeah.
So there is no tomorrow. Hell, there ain't even 2 hours from now. It's right now. You got to be in the moment. You got to play every down, every snap. What sat there and tripped me out, boy, was at halftime of the Cowboys game. Boy, I thought Jimmy Johnson was going to have a heart attack.
Oh, he was. I thought he was coaching again.
And I watched Stephen A. interview Troy Aikman, and he was like, "Yeah, Strahan didn't realize that Jimmy was dead ass because he's sitting there acting like he getting in his 3-point stance and everything else like that. But Jimmy was dead ass.
He was pissed, man. He was.
Troy said, I ain't seen Jimmy that fired up since I played for him. He said he was for real. I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah, so looking at the Packers, they're going ahead against the 49ers. That's going to be very interesting. Texans, now they get to play against the Baltimore Ravens. And again, until Baltimore shows me they can win a playoff game win a game when it matters, hey, your record is great, but I need to see you guys show up on Saturday at your house and show me that your quarterback is really the MVP of this league.
agreed.
Because because listen, Houston has nothing to lose.
Nope. And
Nothing.
similar to Green Bay, they don't know that they're not supposed to be there either.
Mm-mm. And I really want to see if D'Amico Ryans can outcoach John Harbaugh.
Me too, man. I love D'Amico Ryans, and what he's doing down there is sensational.
Yeah, he puts his players in positions to be successful, and he looks at his players, in my opinion, and plays to their strengths, and not necessarily plays to his style. Having a
Yeah,
coach that can recognize the difference between the two is key, because you get some coaches that are so stuck in their ways that they're going to play their team the way that they want them to play, not the way that gets the most out of your players.
yep.
And that does not always have to be the same thing. So it's going to be real interesting, Rand, to see if he can do that. Hey, we also had the Dolphins lay a flat one out to the Chiefs, man. I can only say that the Dolphins are not who we thought they were. They are one of them teams that when they play a bunch of nobodies, they can put up 70 points. But then when they play hard teams, and the Chiefs have had their struggles all year long, and the Chiefs were able to put 26 points on them, and the Dolphins only put up 7 points. Absolutely crazy.
Dolphins are not tough. They're just not tough. They if you watch that game, they were ready to go, man. Them boys packed it in about the third quarter, and they was ready to get back in nice sunny Miami. They really were.
Yeah, they were. And then when you looked at the Rams game, the Rams, and this was the other dynamic game, I talked about earlier about the Browns and the Texans having that connection because of Deshaun Watson. Well, obviously the Rams and the Lions a couple of years ago switched quarterbacks, and it paid off for the Rams in that year because they did go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Um, but the Lions have always been that team that for the longest, Matthew Stafford, when he was there, he could put up all these gaudy passing numbers, and the team would just still outright suck. Now the Lions, I think it's their first time since, was it 92 or something like
1990, yeah, first win since 91, I believe.
91? First playoff win since 1991.
That's incredible. And to me, it's all Dan Campbell, man. All Dan Campbell. He's changed the entire culture of that football program. And even in this game, if you watch what happened in the fourth quarter when they were trying to salt the game away, they did not, for instance, just hand off, trying to salt the clock away and hope to pick up a first down. They didn't do that. They passed the ball and got first downs, even in situations where metrics say you should be running first. They passed the ball because they had that much confidence in Golf and that much confidence in Amar St. Brown. And just to be honest, that much nuts and cojones to
Yeah,
do that in those
yeah.
situations, man. And that's just all Dan Campbell. He's changed
And
everything.
I watched Dan Campbell after the after game remarks that he said to Jared Goff, where he gave him the game ball, and he said, "You're effing good enough for us," because he knew that for the Rams, they basically said, "Yeah, you're not good enough. You can get us to the playoffs, but you'll never get us to a Super Bowl." So they went and got Stafford, and Dan basically putting his vote of confidence to Jared Goff to say, "We got you. You're enough for us." That was pretty moving for me when I saw him do that, because I know he 100% meant it.
Yeah.
And that's just awesome when a coach and a player can have that kind of relationship. I will say, side note, Puka Nacua, 9 receptions for 181.
That boy's a beast, man. I don't know where he came from, but that dude is an absolute beast.
Jesus Christ. Boy, you ain't making it easy on CJ Stroud to be the offensive rookie of the year. I'm just saying, my God. I could put up a bunch of arguments for Puka as much as I could for CJ. CJ just feels like it, but Puka got some numbers that make you go, yeah, but
And he's tough as nails, man. They were nailing that dude across the middle, and he would just shake it off and get right back into the game and go right back over the middle again.
Unbelievable. Talking about some balls. So now the Lions are going to be matched up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that didn't make work out of the Eagles, that 32-9 debacle. The Eagles, we picked the Eagles for that game because it was more not based on what I've seen over the last 6 to 7 weeks, but surely the sense of urgency would have to dictate that the Eagles should be able to pull this together and move on, even if they weren't going to move on much further than this. Surely they'd have to understand the moment and get themselves together. And they just never did. They never did.
They quit that game, man. If you look at the tackling to that game, if you look at their attitude, their demeanor, their sense of urgency, none of it was there. They went through the motions of that game the entire game.
That's sad.
They quit. They quit, man.
Yeah, absolutely sad. And so now the like I said, the Bucks and the Lions are going to square off. You've got the Chiefs and the Bills. That's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be in Buffalo. Buffalo, I'm telling you that window is closing. Now the Jets aren't in your way. The Dolphins aren't in your way. You got a chance. We're going to see what you do. My man CJ isn't here anymore, but the thing that I was trying to remember as far as these Cowboys, I've been trolling CJ all week because these Cowboy fans talk about how everybody hate on them. And I had to explain it to him the other day that y'all invite the hate because when you win, if you had won that game against Green Bay, y'all would be celebrating all week on Facebook talking about it. As soon as the game is over, y'all mad because people posting memes. Not your year, Jerry Jones crying, all kinds of stuff. But we had to listen to DeMarcus Lawrence after y'all beat the Eagles talking about we punched them. And when they got up, we punched them again. And when they tried to move again, we punched them some more. We had to listen to all that. Micah Parsons talking about we the best defense in the league. Jerry Jones talking about after they beat the Commanders. Oh, man, this had to rank as one of the biggest games because you hung up a bunch of points on them.
You know what I'm saying? Let me just stop you right there. The owner of the daggone team is saying a regular season football game is one of the best, the greatest games that he's experienced as a Cowboy fan. That's your owner talking there.
It's one of the highest games, but then after this loss, he refused to rank it.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the Cowboys, man. Right there.
So then CJ tells me, CJ does a post, and I had to try to explain it to him. CJ, this post was meant for anybody other than a Dallas Cowboy fan to repost. Anybody that hates the Eagles. Because the post said this. Who would have thought that the Eagles lost to a 9-8 team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And I said, CJ, do you want me to remind you that you just lost to a 9-8 team?
That's the thing they don't understand, man.
I'm delusional. You just lost to the same team. I said, but the difference is this. Two things. Your 9-8 team was the first 7 seed to win.
Exactly.
And the Eagles in this decade have not only been to the NFC Championship game, they've been to the Super Bowl, and they've won a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So 2 things can be true and not the same. So,
and why can't we see it? Why can we see it so clearly in Cowboy fans?
I was giving it to him. I said, and I always keep bringing up the same thing too about, yes, I know my Carolina Panthers are trash, but do remember that they've been to 2 Super Bowls since 1995.
That's exactly right.
I said, just keep that in mind. That means that they've been to the NFC Championship game because that's the only way you can get to the Super Bowl. That also means that they've won their division and they've won their conference more times than said Cowboys.
Yep.
So when you want to sit there and start talking about your history, know your history, as we say. So I had to kind of jump on him because of that, because they love man, they were posting memes left and right all last week. Now he's sitting there talking about, man, why don't y'all get over it and move on? I'm like, get over it and move on. He even sat there and had nerve tell me that, man, y'all posting more about the Cowboys losing on Monday than it being Martin Luther King's birthday. I said, bro, I know you ain't gonna go there with me talking about Martin Luther King and the Cowboys losing. Both things can happen at the same time. Yes. I have a dream. Y'all been having the same dream for 29 damn years. Is that what you want to talk about?
Been living in it too.
You've been living in it. And the dream that you've been living in ain't the reality when you wake up.
Exactly right.
All right, y'all. Well, look, we're going to give it up for another week. We will have the divisional round this weekend. Again, we talked about the Texans, Ravens, Packers, 49ers, Bucks, Lions, and then the Chiefs and the Bills on Sunday night. So we will be around for that. Programming note, we won't have a show next week. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town. Got to do some work in Columbus. But we will be back for that following week. So the divisional round will have already been played, and the conference championships will have been played by the time we come back, Rand. So we will know by the time we have our next show who's going to the Super Bowl.
Who you got?
Oh, God. From the NFC right now, I'm going to say the Lions.
Whoa.
And from the AFC, I'm going to say, God almighty, the Chiefs.
Chiefs, Lions. I am going Bills finally getting over the hump.
Okay.
Baltimore choking.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going from the NFC. I've been riding San Fran all this time. I'm going to stay on San Fran. San Fran versus Buffalo.
I got a feeling Green Bay gonna beat them.
Uh-oh.
I know that's controversial, but what I saw, and I saw Jordan Love throwing some Aaron Rodgers passes and some sidearms, and just,
listen, I will not ever say never in this league. It's been a crazy year.
But then he could turn back into a frog. Who knows? Maybe something about Jerry's world. But and then that's the other thing I told CJ last week before we go. Y'all won 16 straight games at home.
Right. There's a difference. They are not in the position to troll anybody. They are not in a position to be talking about what Philadelphia did. They're not in a position to be, you know what I'm saying, putting out memes about Pittsburgh. Y'all just got to eat this one, man. And it's bad. And I know it's bad.
And wear it and let the memes flow and just wear it because you earned it. I don't care who you want to blame. It don't matter. The couch is there for you. So in the words of whomever said it, sit your ass down. Because that's all you're going to be doing, sitting on that couch. Anyway, Rand, have a great week. I will see you when I get back. Y'all, thanks for tuning in, and we will see y'all. Hope y'all have a great one, and we will see y'all later. Y'all take care. Peace out.